Good morning, visionaries.
Morning.
I'm Cher Mullins, recruiter for the Urban Studies MA, BA, and certificate programs here at Murphy Institute. Welcome. Urban Studies is an interdisciplinary major that draws from sociology, political science, history, economics, and anthropology. We examine the urban environment, including innovations, institutions, and problems, which informs our perspective and allows us to create solutions. The Urban Studies major is a space where public policies, urban issues, community voices, and strategic action intersect. We are the people on the ground, standing on the front lines, protesting in the name of justice. Within the last year, the New York City community has overwhelmingly responded to disproportionate economic oppression, environmental abuses, and gross injustice at the hands of law enforcement. The role of the organizer is critical to the success of these movements. It takes conscientious leadership to effectively mobilize the masses of disenfranchised workers and misrepresented populations. Libero Della Piana is a leader that personifies these qualities. Libero Della Piana is a senior organizer with Alliance for a Just Society, a national network of 15 racial and economic justice organizations. He spearheads work on criminalization and policing for the network. A recipient of the Alston Bannerman Fellowship for Organizers of Color, Libero has had extensive experience in grassroots organizing, development, training, research, campaign development, communications, and social media strategy, among other aspects of progressive work. Libero was born and grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah, and lives in East Harlem. And now, Libero Della Piana.
Thank you, Cher. Good morning, everybody. How's everyone doing?
Good.
How many people were here yesterday for the workshops, plenaries? Just, everyone have a great time? Learned something? How many people were here for the happy hour last night? And we're here late. Okay, so you guys made it. I think some others who were here late didn't make it yet, but we'll expect them soon. Well, I'm really excited to be here this morning. To this panel, really about Black Lives Matter, I think is so important because this is the most erupted in Ferguson, Missouri last. Shows that we're in a new moment. Politics of the country in addressing issues of police accountability, police violence, but also in movement making. That there is a new, people say it's a movement, not a moment, but we're also in a movement moment, right? There is a particular moment. There is something now that may not be 6 months or a year. And the question is, how do we capture what's happening in this movement moment? How do we learn from it? How do we adapt to it? And how do we continue it? I think that for those of us who went the killing of all that something about the response by the community and by the online, the local community and the online community, something about that said that there's something new happening here. That people were able to say, we're here for Mike, we're here for Mike Brown because we knew him. It was very personal. But at the same time, that there was something universal happening, that there was something global. And that the Black Lives Matter caravans came, people drove from across the country to Ferguson. And out of that was this idea that Black Lives Matter, which seems so basic, so obvious, and yet was a radical concept at the same time. So all of these things came together and I think have really transformed a lot of movements. And I won't introduce them again, but I do want to say what's exciting for me is to be here with Mo, who is the organizing director at Community Voices Heard. This is an organization dear to my heart because it's in my neighborhood, and I know Mo, and I know the work they do in public housing communities throughout the state, but particularly right in my home in East Harlem. And I think this is a traditional organization. It's an old school community organization that is jumping into this new moment and this new campaign. And then we have Brianna Brilliant, who is an activist and an artist and an organizer who helped mobilize this amazing action at Mall of America, another place I'm very familiar with, because I have family who live right nearby, and that this is also a new moment about creating and defining community and space and message. So without further ado, I'm going to invite them up, first Mo, and then Brianna, and then we're going to have a little conversation.
So, I wasn't here last night, but I'm glad all of y'all are here this morning because I know us organizers don't get out much, so I know how we party. So I'm glad y'all are here. So I'll tell you a little bit about me and a little bit about CVH. So Mo George, Monique, Mo to my friends, so Mo to all of you. I've been organizing now since 1983, which means that's a long time. Started out with New York Public Interest Research College, ended college, came to New York, did some work with 1199, did some work with Empire State Pride Agenda, was on the team that developed a strategy to win marriage equality in New York State, and landed at CVH, where I've been for the last 7 years. I am now the New York City chapter director of organizing. Tell you a little bit about CVH. CVH is 20 years old. We were started by 3 women of color on public assistance at a time when they were being labeled as these welfare queens and being told that they sat home and just ate bonbons and watched soap operas. Those were good back in the days for some of y'all who don't remember that. So they founded CVH because that was not their experience. They wanted to work, they had kids, and they were sick and tired of somebody else describing their experience from outside of it. So they said, we are the authorities on our lives, and we should be at the forefront of our issues. So they founded CVH to do just that, to create a member-led organization by the people who are directly affected by the issue. So what that means is that in all of our organizing work, the people who you would traditionally see up front are people who are directly impacted by whatever the issue it is we're organizing. So for instance, public assistance, it would be somebody who was either on public assistance or formerly on public assistance. We work on 3 areas now. We're known for our public assistance work. We were very instrumental in the ending of the Work Experience Program, or WEP, if you're familiar with public assistance. So you know that is phasing out. CVH has worked on that for the last 20 years. So that's huge. And if you don't know about WEP, you can go to our website. There's tons of reports. It is essentially modern day slavery that allows you to work for your benefits next to somebody who's unionized or has a permanent job. So, and then another one of our campaigns is public housing. New York City has the largest stock of affordable public housing in the country. We have 328 developments, 140,000 apartments, houses probably between 430 to 500 people. So we work on preserving that. We were just instrumental in getting the state to put aside $100 million in the public housing. The state hasn't funded public housing since '98. So it shows you where we are and what we care about as far as housing in this city. And our most current thing that we're doing is budgeting. If y'all have heard of PB in the city, it's kind of hard not to now. We were the partner group that brought PB to New York City. And if you don't know about participatory budgeting, it's probably somewhere close to your neighborhood. Find out about it. It's an amazing process that actually has your council person setting aside between $1 million and $1.5 million to actually have their constituents decide how that money is spent. So instead of all these decisions and regarding you on the corner or my member social media, they've had to kind of into that. And as we, but let's yeah, no.
Hi. Um, I guess you could call myself. Don't really. So, well, actually, let me tell you some of. I was tired of executing. And to his last word, heart maintained his the whole time. Enjoy his life. Davis was. Will ignore just to all these people. Were expecting a not indictment. The rally was actually organized in Minneapolis by a mostly white group. And the people I was organizing with, we're all black. And we were like, how about we just go in and take it over? So that's basically what we did. So after we let them have their rally, we let them have their speeches, and mind you, this is Minnesota in November, so it's like 20 degrees, it's less than 20 degrees, it's like -2 degrees outside, and they have all these people out there, and they're talking to them, and finally they go on to do their march. We knew all the marshals, and so we had the marshals, instead of going to, they had a plan to go around in a circle. Basically, they were going to go like up 2 blocks and then down 2 blocks and then over 2 blocks and then up 2 blocks again and come back to the rally march. And we were like, no, let's take over a highway. Let's shut some stuff down because we're angry. And we ended up walking 4 miles in freezing weather with thousands of people. And it was absolutely amazing. Absolutely empowering, and just to feel that energy and to say, like, it took 5 of us to sit down and be like, we can't allow this to happen. It was kind of intoxicating in a way. The power was intoxicating. So we're like, well, let's keep going. Let's do something bigger. And so we planned the Mall of America, and we planned it for the biggest shopping holiday. Excuse me. We planned it for the biggest shopping day of the holiday season. And the way the media has spent it is that they called it a protest, but it was not a protest. It was a community gathering. It was us coming together to mourn our brothers and sisters and our gender nonconforming people who had been murdered by the police. And it was a space for us to heal together. It was a space for us to love on each other, and it was a space for us to exercise our power. And that was, again, absolutely amazing. So Black Lives Matter Minneapolis has been around for about 5 months, and we've been able to do some amazing things. So after the Mall of America, we went on and we had a rally for, well, we had a march for Martin Luther King Day to, again, celebrating Martin Luther King's birthday and tapping into the national hashtag of Reclaim MLK. And it, again, amazing, empowering. So the way we've been using social, sorry, I'm a little, whoo. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But great. Thank you. Most of our, well, actually everybody that organizes with us is under 30. So which is cool. It's really cool when you think about it. We're all under 30. And we have an advisor who's, Nakima Levy Pounds, she's older than 30, but she's still pretty. She can sit with us. So we grew up with the internet. So we don't have, like Mo was saying, we don't have that kind of hump to get over. So Twitter and Tumblr and Facebook and all these other different social media platforms are kind of natural for us. And I know for myself, especially after Troy Davis was executed, I found social media as a space for community. And that's kind of what hashtags are. They're a space where you can build community. And I got onto Tumblr to learn more about Black radicalism and to learn more about Black liberation. And it's been quite amazing. So I'm gonna stop talking, and I'm gonna let Libero ask us some questions, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you all more specific questions.
We're going to get to questions from the audience, but I wanted to ask a couple questions. First of all, thanks to Brianna and also, how much time do we have since we started late, or do we know when we have to end the session? Okay, we'll find that out. So my question to Mo and Brianna is, what are some specific examples of how you have used technology in these struggles around police accountability, police violence, Black Lives Matter? Are there ways you've used it to mobilize, to organize, to have conversations, to reframe messages? Could you just give an example of that?
So as I said, we're an older organization. So the mass call using like Twitter and Facebook doesn't really resonate with a large amount of our members. So, but we use it more and more because I did mention that we do work in public housing, and there are, tens of thousands of youth in public housing that utilize Facebook and Twitter. And we know that we had to go into this social network world, and the organization kind of went in kicking and screaming a little, not by us as staff, membership learning, because they don't come from that world, right? They don't come from the internet. They come from actually talking to people. Ooh, what a concept. So they, so when they say, oh, you can't say to them, oh, I'll text you. They were like, text me where? You know what I mean? Like, they're very much like, could you put it in the mail? We're like, the mail? What's that? Oh, the stamp. Oh, yeah, I remember those. So I think for us, but what we've realized, and especially, around the stuff that we have engaged in, matter is that we have to. right? Like, we have to step into that, and we have to bring them into that. And we have to help them in ways where we've been able to, like, help them, like, every week like I mentioned before, I'm helping some one of my members log on to Facebook or get a Facebook page, and then now they're like excited because now they're seeing their grandkids, and they're like, and then they want to follow everybody, and then they want to, and I was like, you can't yell at your grandkids on Facebook about what they post. That's not what we're putting you on there for.
You set up computer workstations.
Yeah, we do. So, but like I said, so now it's coming to backfire on some of it because someone's like, Mo, don't be putting my mama on. Don't be putting my mama on Facebook. But that they're learning that is a valid part of of how they get the information out. So, and then for us, like, we had a press conference on Thursday that we did around asking the city for more funding for public housing, and literally after, and it was really cold here that day, but literally Friday, one of my members called and on Facebook. Seriously, you. But it was good though, because it meant that she's now looking to Facebook for those announcements around, what we're doing and what's happening, and they're actually, they're following the Black Lives Matter stuff, right? Like in New York, in Minnesota, out in LA, and we, have them doing that and realizing that in order, like, the organizing of their work has to go beyond them, and that it has to go beyond just their traditional methods of communication. So,
Could you repeat the question real quick?
Just examples of how you've used the new technology in your work.
So, like I was saying, just we're kind of most of us are powerful in Twitter websites. General trend shifting to the more will be right without or contact you with our Twitter account, news sites following us and following our stories, and then direct messaging us or tweeting us to get an interview because they've seen how powerful we are, and that we will call people out. And that's another way we use our Twitter, is to call BS. And recently there was at Minnesota, and they dropped flyers in North Minneapolis. And North Minneapolis is like the hood, but it's not really the hood. But it's where we have the highest concentration of Black people, as well as the highest concentration of poor people in the city. And this organization dropped these pamphlets with Black Lives Matter and all Black on one side, and then all these like different facts about the school system. And this is an all-white organization. And so what we did is we went on Twitter, many of our members, and we were able to confront this organization. And they embarrassed themselves because they weren't willing to really act like an ally, and instead were trying to say, well, don't you care about Black kids and this about, and yada yada yada, able to shift that story created out. It is thing with the Mall of America. So after Bloomington, the city of Bloomington decided to charge 11 of our organizers, we went to Twitter. We had this hashtag campaign, Charge Me Too, where we had everybody who was at the Mall of America and people who weren't at the Mall of America Tweet Bloomington and Tweet the Mall of America charged me too. I was an organizer. I was there. Charged me too. Thousands and thousands and thousands of tweets. And the way Twitter works is like if you when you're doing your hashtags, in order to make the hashtag a big deal, you have to make sure people are tweeting it and retweeting it and retweeting it, and it goes. It's like an echo chamber, and it makes it bigger and bigger and bigger, and it causes it to trend. And so that's one way that we've really, again, been able to shift the narrative and build power.
So that's something we tweet me too. I know that there's hope that they're going to drop those charges, but base who they were going to charge. Was right. I know we're running out of time, and I want to get to the audience, but I want one last question. Maybe one of you could speak to is just this question of Black Twitter. The Pew Internet study days ago about teens. One of the interesting things about the study, I don't know how many people took a look at the study. It's really interesting. Go to Pew Internet website. 84% of black teens say they have access to a smartphone. It's higher than any other racial group. And 34%, I think, of, 1/3 of black teenagers say that they are online all the time, higher than any other group. And one of the things that a lot of people don't know about is that in Twitter in particular, but also in other spaces, there's a whole other conversation going on amongst black people that is invisible. If you just look at the top, the trending topics on Twitter, you're missing sort of the conversation that's actually happening in black communities. If either one of you or both of you could just speak briefly on that, and then we'll take some questions from the audience.
Yeah. So when I got on Twitter and I started using Twitter back in 2010, I didn't know Black Twitter was a thing, but I was definitely a part of it. And I think it's kind of just, it's like the subculture, just like we have blackness is kind of a subculture, even though it permeates pop culture and controls pop culture and all that here in the United States. And it's Black Twitter is beautiful and amazing. You get to see a lot of different types of blacks, especially if you're coming out of Minnesota, you really get to see like this much blackness, this blackness, sort of like this much blackness, But I know until people started talking about Black Twitter. I think it's because black people melanin attracts melanin. So.
All right. You've had your hand up for a while. Do we have a floor mic or? Oh, sorry. So we have time for one or two questions.
Oh, sorry. Hi, my name is Christopher Viola, and I've been involved as an activist for many years. I work for the President of the United States. I'm an advisor. And it very much, I can say that Facebook and Twitter work. I'm from Connecticut, and I worked on many campaigns. Funny how my friend Governor, you're the guy who always...
For the
yeah,
panel.
I do very much. With God, as seen said, that officer would have been innocent. And Mo, my question to you is, how is this impact as far as in helping, as far as in working to bring to stop the violence that's going on with police officers? And I just wanted to make one quick note too, is that this Tuesday there is at Union Square a Stop the Violence.
So, just to be clear, violence in people of color communities isn't new. Walter the first, nor will he be the last, unfortunately. What's new is the fact that passives are now recognizing that. And that has been on the results of Black Lives Matter, right? And so the police brutality is not new in people of color communities. The way and interact is not changing. We have been fighting along. The for those a part of recognize not mean does mean live in a system that to happen. You're not the audacity, the unmitigated gall of this society to say, well, let's fundraise for a murderer, right? It's not new for the black community. We've been saying it. Let me just keep it real. It's white folks who are just getting it, because we've been saying it. But now, this now is now in real time, but it has always been in our communities.
And while we get another question, I just wanted to point out, Viola, you can give her the mic. Other things that both either social media, the use of cell phone and of the use of methods and things. I mean, creating a counter narrative, a counter discussion, have some of these tools would have clear. It's not an equal footing because he was there at that moment and captured this lie, and the police had to act. So
I was just going to add. Also, just because it's on video doesn't mean it passed. Eric Gardner was on video. Okay, so let's not forget that. That was on video. And that video, then we were told, what you're saying, not what you're exactly what we're saying. So, you know what I mean? I think what the Eric Gardner case did for the Walter Scott case is it put the pressure for the police to realize you can't psych people's eyes out on this one. You can't say, well, nah, he didn't kind of get shot in the back. It kind of went in the grass. You know, it's not what you're seeing. You know what I mean? Like, it was in real time. So, you know, I think all of that has added to what folks say. So what I say is keep filming.
Okay, my question is...
you have to speak right into it.
Right in, yeah.
Okay. Black Lives Matter has to connect with education and what they're doing to education, teach, evaluate. This is civil rights in continuation. I'll share this with you later. So what you're doing, take a page from On Boss, and bring it up to what you're doing today, because you are creative, you're in education, but it has to go further in the public system that is broke as well.
Thank you. We would take a question there, and then I think...
Hi, thank you. Is indispensable in setting a narrative and communicating and outreach to media, but is it also effective, do you think, in get out the vote and also or drafting candidates and to run, or is that just sort of, or is it sort of a little removed? What else needs to, what are other essential about the vote and affecting politics live and direct? Thank you.
Quickly, Facebook or useful is for people getting young people out. But old school organizing, door knocking, you know, maintain getting those relationships off in person, we can never underestimate that and take that for advantage. Does that kind of get to what you're saying, asking? Well,
This conversation, we could go on for another hour, and